Hello and welcome to This Album With Me, William Han. It's the podcast where each episode, a guest and I are going to deep dive an album of their choice. It could be any artist, any genre, any year. And we are going to discuss the songs, the shows, the artwork. But what I really want to know is where my guests first heard the album and the emotional attachment they have to the record. Who knows, we might even have a bit of a laugh while doing it. Well, today, I'm joined by a man that is challenging and elevating what a guitar band is and can be in 2025. He's a man that is a connoisseur of auto-tune and whose music has reference points as vast as Iggy Pop, Charlie XCX, David Byrne, and even Jim Carrey's The Mask. He's from the best four-piece guitar band to come out of Liverpool since...
I can't really think of any of the bands from Liverpool.
Of any.
I think we might be the first.
The first four-piece guitar band to
Yeah.
come from Liverpool.
That's us.
Can we split off in groups of two? Well, my guest and I already have. From Courting, it's Sean Murphy O'Neill.
Hello.
Hello, Sean. How you doing, man?
I'm good, thanks, man. How are you?
Pretty good, actually. Yeah. It's Friday.
It is.
It's 5-ish.
Yeah.
So pretty good energy
We're
on my part,
approaching
mate.
beer o'clock.
I can hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the call of the
tick.
cans.
Yeah, well,
the call
I
of the
can hear
cans.
it. I
But
can
for
hear the
now,
call.
we're keeping it simple. We're keeping it hydrated.
Yeah, keeping it water.
We're keeping it water-based, yeah. Welcome to the Cumberland, Sean.
Thank you.
Nice one, man.
Thank you,
What
Alan.
brings you to London on this weekend?
I'm here for this.
You're
I'm
here for
to
this?
play some guitar. I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to enjoy the sunshine. What keeps you in London today?
That's a great question. Why do I stay in this city, Sean? My God.
Well, as soon as I got here today, I thought I've missed it a little bit. Just
Yeah?
a little bit, yeah.
So how often are you in London then?
Maybe monthly or every 2 months.
Sure.
But I think there's a level of Europeanness that comes across in London sometimes.
In
That
what
is-
way?
is-
Tell me more.
Well, the first thing that got me today is just people standing up outside the cafes, people
Sure.
standing up outside the pubs.
Yeah, yeah. It's
That's
class,
such a
isn't it?
ridiculous thing for me to say that's like a cultural touchstone, but I don't feel as though that happens across the rest of Britain. If I'm in Liverpool and there's no seats in a pub outside, I'm going to go to another pub.
Sure.
People here will simply block the entire road.
So will you do that though? Will you stand outside a
Oh,
pub with a pint?
I feel
in
like
London?
you got to follow the rules, haven't you?
Right.
Like there's a few things.
The
like,
unwritten rules,
yeah,
or
I think so. I think how I describe it often is like it's like you go from like casual gameplay to competitive mode in a video game. That's how I feel about London. Like you've got to lock in.
right? Yeah,
You know.
it's not for the weak, right?
It's you got to lock in, but that's fun. It's
You
just
can- you're
it's
a locker?
it's ranked play.
can lock?
Yeah, I'm locked.
You
Oh,
can
for
lock. Of
sure,
course
for
you
sure.
can.
I'm on the right
Of course
side of the
you can.
escalator. I'm walking really fast. I'm weaving in and out of people.
You're one
I'm
of us now,
I'm
mate.
getting incredibly aggressive if someone walks a little bit too slowly.
Well, congratulations. It
Yeah,
sounds like you're
I'm
under to
paying
me, mate.
£7 for a pint. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, man.
You'd be lucky if you get £7 nowadays, mate.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. We should talk a little bit where you're from.
Yeah, I'm from Liverpool
Yes, you are.
originally.
Now, this is a city very dear to my heart, Sean. Don't let my
Yeah.
accent fool you.
Mm.
I am an honorary Scouser.
Yeah.
My dad's been married to a Scouser
Okay.
since 2009.
Okay.
How's your maths? It's a
Okay,
while
that's-
back now, isn't it?
That's 16 years.
16. Thank God
Yeah.
you're here. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good.
16 years of being an honorary
So you're a
Scouser.
step scouser.
I'm a step Scouser. It's a city I know well.
Yeah, okay.
But what I don't know well is the sort of underground music scene there. So I am very much a tourist when I visit Liverpool. I
Yeah.
will go down Matthew Street on the regular.
Yeah.
Me, my dad, my brother,
Yeah.
several pints, and the songs we all know and love.
Yeah.
What I don't know is the sort of music scene you probably came from. So I'd love to know a bit more, Sean.
I think the music scene in Liverpool has always been quite interesting.
Mm.
When we first came about, there were a lot of bands that were doing the same thing. They
When
were
was that?
maybe like 2016, 17, 18. There were a lot of bands doing this kind of dreamy, shoegaze influenced indie pop, kind of jangly, whatever. And I think at the time I kind of took a certain like dislike to that, which is maybe a bit mean, but I was a bit of a kid, and I kind of thought we need something with a little bit more aggression, a little bit more like with something to say, which I kind of resent now. So we then
We're all young ones, Sean.
yeah, so we set out on kind of being a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more, I don't know, purposely kind of inspired by different things. And I think now, in my opinion, what makes Liverpool so interesting is all the bands that were kind of doing that like 5, 6, 7 years ago now do all seem to be playing kind of on their own path in a completely different way. And I think the artists who've stuck around and are really truly interesting, they're doing cool things. And I think that's, in my opinion, what Liverpool as a city deserves, because I think despite being such a cultural city, obviously having the Beatles and whatever, I think people can get stuck in this little routine where they want to make quite safe things, and I think or they solely want to be inspired by the city itself. And I think maybe what they forget in the process of that is that bands like the Beatles, they weren't inspired internally mainly by the city of Liverpool, but inspired by, you know, music from America, music coming into Liverpool. And I think maybe more recently that's what a lot of bands and musicians have started to do again. Take and borrow from places outside Liverpool. And the idea that I think the best Scouse music, to me, it comes from wanting to enrich the culture of the city rather than just continuously borrow from what the city has already created. And I think, and even that's quite an interesting one to me, because when I was listening to these bands, I didn't feel as though they borrowed particularly from other Liverpool music, but just kind of like a northern perspective, whereas now it feels more varied, it feels a bit wilder, more experimental, and I'm really happy about that.
Love it. So who are your contemporaries back then?
There's quite a few bands. I want to give a main shout out to our friends in Monks. Who
don't know Monks. What's the vibe?
They're fantastic. Their earlier music, it was kind of like dream poppy, shoegaze, really like soundscapey, vibey kind of stuff. And then recently they've kind of took a turn into more like interesting electronic, like left field music. And I think sounds
like someone else I know. Sean, if I'm being honest,
it's really interesting. But theirs is definitely like quite rooted. In more heavily in like electronic music and like DJ culture, and their new live setup is fantastic. They played the Windmill the other day.
I've still not been there before, you know. It's
Neither
criminal.
have I, you know.
Criminal.
But they played, and yeah, they're great. We have touring guitarist and keyboardist Seb. His project is called Grey Streak, and he does a lot of cool electronic, strange things. There's obviously other big Liverpool bands. There's Stone, there's Crawlers. They're kind of doing their own things as well. They're cool. And I think one thing that does stand out amongst all of these bands to me is that everyone kind of has like a respect and a voice for pop music. Like no one is afraid of a song being catchy. I think some cities try and, or some musical cities try and object to that and make experimental music or music that's kind of like post structure just for the sake of it, really, not for their personal interest and love of the game, but just because they want to be different. And I think one thing I really respect about a lot of Liverpool bands is that they do want to be different, but they have a love and respect for the idea, the concept of a pop song, and that's something that I really love and study. So I think there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of interesting stuff in Liverpool at the minute.
A lot of strong choruses by the sound of it.
A lot of strong choruses for sure. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I should probably start by saying congratulations as well.
Thank you.
Album 3 in the can.
Thank you.
How's it going for you so far?
It's good. We're kind of taking a much well-deserved break.
You guys have not stopped, have you?
Yeah, we've wrote a lot of music in the last few years, so I'm trying to do absolutely nothing.
Yes.
For a little bit.
How long's that little bit?
I don't know, but it's difficult for me to do, so we'll see. But yeah, it's going great. I think the reception has been very interesting and very well received.
There's a few 5 stars, weren't there? I think
a few 5 stars, a few 1 stars. I'm not asked.
There?
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. I agree. Yeah, I don't care. I think the kind of the mission of everything that we've ever made, for me at least, is I want it to be something that I'd want to listen to.
Yeah, class.
And if that means that something that I want to listen to is considerably different to what like a majority of like people who want to listen to a rock band or an indie band want to listen to, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Same thing with this podcast, and honestly, mate.
Yeah.
Made something I want to listen to.
You've got to do it for something. You've got to do it for yourself.
This is it.
And I think whilst that can sound kind of selfish or whatever, I don't care. I think if you're a band and your sole mission is I want to make things that people who already like me will like, I think you're destined to fail, because I think they can't predict what you're going to do, and if you try and guess what they want you to do, I think it's so easy to become a kind of like self-pastiche of what you are and just end up like in this horrible cycle of repurposing your own music and making it worse and more cliched as you go. I think the only way to actually keep it interesting, and what we've tried to do for the last few years, is operate solely off doing whatever we want and working quickly. Like,
yeah, mission accomplished there, brother.
Thank you. And I never take the time to think like, is this the right move? I just do it. Because I think if you take too long, you can get in your head. You can get bothered by it. You can pull back. You can get worried. I think if you just say, I'm going to do it, I don't give a shit. I'm going to do it, and it's going to work. And that's kind of how we've been doing things for the last few years.
Working so far, brother. Love it. Should probably say as well, Caught In were captured a very big moment in my life, actually. One of the first bands I saw post-lockdown.
Really?
Was you guys at Brixton Academy supporting sports team?
Yeah, fantastic.
What a big night that was,
what a
man.
gig. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely time.
How was that? Was it a full tour for you or just the one show?
It was the full tour, yeah. It
How'd
was
you get on with
fantastic.
that?
Yeah, it was great. That was a fantastic. I remember it very well.
There's another band in the middle. What were they called now? What were they called?
Wet Leg.
Who?
Wet Leg.
Wet
Yeah,
Leg.
in the centre of the
Supporting
bill.
sports team.
In the centre of the bill.
I've heard it all now. Jesus Christ. What happened to them?
They are gearing up to release their second album.
No, they bloody are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Big night that was, man.
Yeah.
Tell you. So thanks for being a huge part
To
of
be
it.
fair, I just want to say as well, I think the aesthetic they're doing on the new
Class,
one,
isn't it?
it's really cool.
Really good.
Yeah,
New
I think
single's banging, isn't it?
it's really sick, yeah.
Yeah. You seen
Lot
them on
of
this
respect.
little new tour they're on at the moment?
I've not seen them. I've not seen them do any of the new
Not seen
tunes
them
yet.
from Brixton, right?
When I last saw them at a festival that we were playing at, and I can't remember which one it was, but they were great. And I saw them at Glastonbury when they debuted there, and you couldn't
on
move.
the park stage.
Yeah,
I was
couldn't,
there
you
as
couldn't
well.
move in that field at all.
No,
could you?
I got a decent enough spot, but the sound was actually shit as it happens
It was
anyway.
a bit shocking, yeah. We were right up the back of that hill.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of respect for them. I think they're really cool.
And have you guys played Glastonbury yet?
No.
I thought that, yeah. So I'm looking to the back of the room here. How's things looking for this year? Blink twice
we're
if
in
you're
America.
playing.
We're in America, so no lying, no blinking.
Pretty good plan B, isn't it?
Yeah, I can take a tan instead. It's fine.
Fine. And what's the plan in the States? What are you getting up to?
We've got 2 tours with East Coast and West Coast separate. We're doing a co-headline in the East, and we're playing with a band called Nightfire in the West. We've got a one-off gig with Geese in Nashville, and we're doing Bonnaroo. There's a few other festivals. There's one in Chicago. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. It's good.
So not a bad trade-off for Glastonbury.
It's not a bad trade-off,
Not a bad trade-off.
And I might get more of a tan. That's what I'm thinking about. That's kind of the goal.
I'm excited to see what happens there.
When we started a band, the first thing I said is we should book all of our gigs solely depending on where we can get the most tan.
Right.
And this is just
it's finally happening
It's
now. Is that
the
what you're
culmination of that. It's the culmination, yeah. So it's feeling good.
Well, speaking of tan opportunities,
Yeah.
I missed one of your shows last summer at Reading Festival.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wet and horrible.
It was wet and horrible.
It was wet and
As
horrible.
much as I wanted to see you guys that
Wet and
day,
horrible, man.
that rain was not a sacrifice I was willing to make, I'm
No.
afraid.
You
So
did
don't
miss out,
take this
though.
personally.
You did miss out.
I'm sure that's not true.
I took the rain.
Did you?
Oh, I took
How'd you
the
get on? How was that show for you? Main stage at Reading,
it
man.
was-
Must have been
it was muddy.
class.
The rain ruined it
Yeah.
a little bit. It's a classic Caught In moment. Anytime we're just
Right,
just on the brink of getting something good, something's got to happen. And on that day, it was torrential rain that lasted from the start to the end of our set, then instantly stopped the second the next band
It
went
was
on.
pretty incredible. When it stopped, it really did stop.
Yeah, it really
didn't
did stop, and it was
Yeah.
actually a really pleasant, nice day.
It was a lovely day. I had a great time. Brought wellies. Didn't really need them.
No, because you only would have needed them for our set realistically,
This is
so
it.
it's fine. It was good. It was a good show. I had fun. That was like a genuine moment for me because the first festival I ever went to was Reading Festival, which is weird because I'm from Liverpool. But
Yeah. What brought you down the south one then?
I thought it'd be sunnier. I was like 14, and it was sunnier.
Okay.
It was a lovely time, yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah,
So
it
the
was
whole
great.
chasing the sun thing's been an ongoing.
And it came back to fuck me because it pissed down. So it's not at all fair. Whereas Leeds was fairly glorious. So
What have we learned?
I learned absolutely
Nothing.
nothing, mate.
Absolutely
It's
nothing.
Fucked.
Cool. Well, look, you talked a little bit about your sort of musical upcoming. I'd like to know more about what your sort of bread and butter is musically, really, the sort of music you grew up on, and what's leading us to this album we're going to be talking about today.
Interesting. I hated music when I was a kid.
Right.
I absolutely hated it. I don't know why. I just really did. I think like one of my most like formative musical memories was like I used to do like musical theatre shit. So I only used to listen to I only used to listen to like show tunes when I was like 8, and then I went off that completely. Didn't listen to any music till I was maybe 13. Then just got heavily invested in like second wave dubstep.
Quite the gear change.
Yeah, and then I went from that, and then from there it's a pretty classic British teenager shift. It was from that to like pop punk, from that to like the Arctic Monkeys, so on.
It's the tale as old as time.
So on, yeah. And then I got considerably more pretentious until I was about 16. And then I was pretentious enough that at this point I can just kind of listen to anything. Yeah. And it's fine.
And when did you first pick up a guitar then?
When I was like 15,
Yeah.
14 maybe.
Was it the Monkeys that got you there?
No, it was probably still more like Fall Out Boy era music when I started doing that. And then I just went from there. I did like 4 years of writing terrible, terrible songs.
Yeah, been there, brother.
Yeah, and then wrote a few less terrible songs, and then you just continue going, don't you? You keep going.
What choice have you got? Well, you either do or you don't, right?
You do or you don't.
And you did.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, because it's funny, you mentioned the Fall Out Boy influence. And like, there's
Yeah.
none of that on the early stuff. But on that second album,
Yeah.
there's a lot going on there.
It's an interesting
influence-wise,
one,
isn't there?
yeah. For me, the reason that whole album came about, and I don't know if people kind of understand or fully realised, like, thinking what we were trying to do there, but the idea for me was to kind of talk about how, like, people use cliche and, like, guilty pleasure in music. And I think that what I was gonna mention it then as well, actually. When you're, like, talking about how, like, your music taste expands and whatever, I think, like, you have to hit, like, peak pretentious before you can become, like, I'll call it, like, post-pretentious, like, the postmodernist version of being a snob. And I think, like, you've got to get to the point, if you're a real diehard music fan, where, you know, if you're listening to, if you're at that age of, like, 16, 17, whatever, and you're calling yourself a rock fan, it's got to get to the point where you're like, I only listen to, like, Belgian no wave. I only listen to, like, you know, like, ambient post rock from Mexico. Like, you've got to be so niche.
How far can you push it?
But I think once you hit that and you just pass that limit, some people stay there. But I think once you pass that limit and you go, yeah, but I also like music that people call shit. And I think then you can start to see what makes everything good and the appeal in, like, pop music as well as really left field stuff as well. And I think that's when it starts to get interesting, because you can kind of see good in everything and kind of see things that are posery for being posery. And for me, that's kind of the take on that album. Like, I think the first album, and I was definitely in this phase of, like, post-pretentiousness. Like, I wasn't, because we were already listening to a lot of pop music on that first album. We were incorporating a lot of, like, autotune, a lot of kind of, like, silly things, which I just thought were fun. But I kind of thought I want to dial that up even further.
Yeah.
And I think what most people expected, maybe when they thought of our sophomore record, was that we just take the autotune up more, go a little bit more electronic with it. But for me, I kind of wanted to explore this idea of, like, of cliche and, like, lowbrow and highbrow music. And I think, like, once you're past that point of, like, on the timeline, you know, you might like a band like My Chemical Romance when you're, like, 13.
Sure.
Then you hit 18, you're like, whoa, I don't listen to that. I only listen to, you know, what people consider cool. And then I think if you can get past that, you can go, actually, that album that I like when I was 13, it's actually, there's a lot of stuff that's really good about it. And I liked it not because I was a stupid 13-year-old, but because it's a good album. And I think once you hit that point and you see the merit in it, and I thought, how can I incorporate that into what we're doing? And my first thought was, I think pop punk as a genre is, like, pop punk, and as I mentioned earlier, like, second wave, like, Skrillex dubstep, I think they're very, like, guttural, like, types of music. It's like gut punch stuff, and I think that's what makes it so great. And it's like, is it cheesy? Sure, but that's kind of what makes it good. Like, you know, if you're 13 and you're listening to Bangarang, there's a reason it sounds good, and it's because it's ridiculous. And there's a reason that, like, a Fall Out Boy song with a 20-word title and a drop D riff sounds good, and it's because it's ridiculous. It's like, it's written to incite a certain level of stupidity, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's meant to be over the top. It's meant to be kind of silly. And I think that is something that is missing in a lot of, like, high art music. And I think it's something I really appreciate and respect in a band like 100 Gex or an artist like Sophie. It's the combination of these really pretentious, and I don't mean pretentious in a bad way, but, like, highbrow artistic influences, you know, borrowing from, like, left field electronic stuff, but then saying, but what makes this interesting isn't pushing that further to the point of it being arty and unlistenable, but then taking influence from things that are a bit more crass, a bit more silly. I remember there was an interview with Sophie where someone asked her what they thought the perfect, like, sound was, and I think she said it was like a burp. And I think that's really funny. Like, the idea of bringing something really lowbrow and stupid into a arty, experimental, like, kind of genre mix is what I thought made it so interesting. So for us, with that album, so that was a very long way to come
I'm
around.
loving it. Please, keep going.
But what we wanted to do was take those moments of, like, theatrical intensity from genres like pop punk and whatever, and just incorporate them into our songwriting. Like, on that song we did Throw, the idea was to write a song. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that I really love that song, and the idea was, instead of being pretentious in like what we did on Guitar Music, which was long drawn out intro, introduce some like hard electronic influences on this, it's like give them a ridiculous, insane riff, and we'll record it with like a proper like stupid pop punk amp, and just go a bit stupid. And I think like it's kind of like it's a bit therapeutic to play something so big and dumb, but then also incorporate the same influences that you were doing on your first album, bring back the auto-tune, bring back kind of that production style. And it's, as much as I like to take credit for doing something like that and kind of trying to push that a bit further, I think a lot of the credit really, it still gets to go to like the early 2000s Fall Out Boy. In 2008, 2009, Pete Wentz had like a Lil Wayne feature on a Fall Out Boy album. He had Neptune's production on a Fall Out Boy album. He had like, they were auto-tuning the shit out of stuff on their comeback record. They had like a dubstep drop in one of them songs. I don't know if I consider that like a song that I'd enjoy now, but I think you've really got to hand it to him. I think they could have played it so boringly. They could have become such a pop band in a boring way, and they chose to be a pop band in a really interesting way. I still think having Neptune's production on a Fall Out Boy song is insane.
I didn't know that happened. I'm quite a big Neptune's head.
It's on Folie à Deux. There's the Jay-Z intro on their second record. There's a Kanye West remix of one of their early songs, which is really weird. On that third album, they've got Courtney Love. That might be on the fourth, actually. They've got Debbie Harry. They've just got all sorts of shit going on.
You've right up here. I would have to dig out Fall Out Boy's back
it's got
the proper, me some real work here,
It's
Sean.
got the Pharrell intro. It's got the 4 count as well. Like it's proper on the nose.
Wow.
But what other rock bands in such a high profile position were messing around with like lowbrow pop culture as much in that case? And I don't mean lowbrow in a bad way. Again, I'm just kind of saying like I feel like there's always been this idea as a rock band that you operate on like a certain level of purism. You don't deviate from rock music, and you know a lot of like kind of I guess like rock fans can kind of like position yourself in like this is better than whatever everyone else listens to. You know, I don't listen to that rap shit. I only listen to rock. You know, that kind of bullshit mentality. And I think like them being so insanely famous and instantly challenging that by bringing in you know, big rappers, big producers from like hip hop music. And interestingly enough, you know, Talking to the Arctic Monkeys doing the same thing. Like they were covering Drake, weren't they? They had a lot of like rap influence on AM, and I think it just makes for more interesting music when rock music doesn't try and be so fucking boring.
Yeah, I think a lot of these things you've named here, a lot of artists had the opportunity to go the easy way, the more obvious
and
way.
They chose the hard way.
Exactly.
They chose something that could be not appreciated, but they wanted to do it for the love of the game. And I think that's exactly what I really respect in an artist. Like, I think if you're a successful indie band and you're not pioneering your fourth no wave minimal techno album, what's the fucking point? Why?
There's plenty of people that are doing the vanilla route, right?
Yeah. You can rehash the same old indie shit forever. Whereas if you've got the money, you should be doing what you want. I don't think there's any reason to keep going. I just think there's so many bands like shit. And I think people
should we
need
focus
to take
on
risks.
that a little bit, or shall we?
Let's move swiftly. Yeah, let's swiftly move on.
Well, look, I'm going to ask you to tell us who we are discussing today, Sean.
Yeah. I would like to discuss the sophomore record by Frank Ocean, Blonde, with or without the E at the end.
We have options.
We have options, yeah.
Right then. Today, we are deep diving the colossal second album by Californian superstar Frank Ocean with the spectacular and groundbreaking Blonde, with or without an E. Blonde was surprise released in 2016, just one day after visual album Endless amidst unimaginable expectation. It's fair to say the album delivered in every conceivable way and became a cultural event in and of itself. Blonde touches on gender norms, sexuality, masculinity, emotions, sexual experiences, heartbreak, loss, adolescence, and it really challenged what pop and R&B could achieve. It features a red carpet's worth of guests, including James Blake, the aforementioned Pharrell Williams, Johnny Greenwood, Andre 3000, and an up-and-comer called Beyonce.
Yeah.
And despite its abstract and atmospheric sound, it was an instant classic and reached #1 in Australia, Belgium, Denmark, New Zealand, Norway, the US, and the UK, and is widely considered to be one of the best albums released this side of the millennium. Sean, I could not be happier to be discussing this album today.
Please.
Where do we start?
Try me.
I guess, when did Frank Ocean enter your world, Sean?
I think there's quite a common experience with people who listen to Frank Ocean, which is discovering Channel Orange kind of before Blonde dropped and saying, like, I don't know how he could possibly top this. What a fantastic record. And I think it's a great album and it's interesting, it's experimental, but at the same time, in comparison to Blonde, it kind of plays it safe. Now, I think when everyone heard Blonde for the first time, everyone was like, oh, it's fine, it's great, it's fine. But, Channel Orange is great. And I think everyone has this exact same experience where just like one time they just play the album and it just smacks you.
Yeah.
Smacks you across the face. Every single song just smacks you across the face. What a fantastic record.
Well, thank you very much for choosing this. Honestly, there is so much to discuss on this album.
Yeah.
We've all got things to do and places to be, so I don't know how long we got at the back. But this album, it touches on quite a few things. What was you connecting with on this, really? Was it the production? Was it Frank as a character? Was it the lyrics?
The thing for me with an album like Blonde is I think I put a lot of time and thought into like thinking like what makes a record like perfect. And I think the answer to that for me is it kind of being somewhat imperfect. Like, I think, like, say you have, like, a tier ranking system of any art, like, say, B tier, A tier, S tier, whatever. I think to make, like, an A tier album, like a fantastic album, you can listen through 10 tracks, 40 minutes, and you can say, every song on that is a rammer. They're all perfectly produced. The lyrics are fantastic. The music is great, whatever. And it can still sit in A for me, even if it's a perfect record. I think what makes an S tier album, any piece of art, it's an unexplainable, hard to capture mood. It's just solely based on vibe, and I think Blonde has that vibe. There's something about it that just sounds like every sound, every second is exactly what Frank Ocean wanted to do. None of it sounds forced, none of it sounds engineered, none of it, and I guess in part due to its surprise release, sounds as though it was written to please anyone at a record label. It's not made to please anyone. It sounds like it's made because it's something that he genuinely enjoys. It's experimental off the bat. It's interesting. The amount of thought put into the structure of the album with obviously the theme of duality that runs so heavily through it. The physical and digital versions of the record, like having the E and not the E, the two different French words. The beat switch happening at a perfect 30 minutes, exactly halfway through the album.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
It's really cool. Every song on it I think is fantastic. There's so many more little details as well. It's the details. I think it's just really interesting. You can tell how much thought he put into it. And I think even if there are songs on here that I might skip from time to time, songs I don't think are like, quite a piece of me, it's undoubtedly it's a perfect record.
Yeah, because I think some of the songs, they're not radio hits, right? These aren't songs to be played on Radio 1.
No.
But every song serves a purpose and controls the narrative.
Yeah.
With that in mind, how have you taken that into what you do and the idea of creating an album?
100%. It's arguably the biggest inspiration that I think about every time I write an album. It's how can I make something that feels cohesive and complete as a package, which I think is something that he accomplishes perfectly. And I think there's a lot of albums that kind of do the same thing. And I think what tethers them together is an unburdened ability to be creative and do whatever you want. I think the second that someone tries to pull someone who is an interesting artist back, interest in the possibility of a record being perfect is gone. I think the second someone kind of gets their hands on it, meddles with it, because I think the best pieces of art are like uninhibited, just complete, pure examples of expression. There are songs on this album that go on like 3 minutes too long, and they go on 3 minutes too long because he knows they have to. There are songs on this, like a perfect example for me is starting the album with Nike's is, I think, genius, because on Channel Orange he spends the whole album with the centerpiece of that record essentially being his his soulful, his beautiful voice, and off the gate he comes in with a heavily auto-tuned, pitched up version of his voice, which I think it's essentially there to put people off. It's essentially there to challenge you off the bat, and also ties straight in with having the two vocals, his regular voice and this kind of like exaggerated vocal character, which plays across the whole album. This like pitched up or pitched down, modulated vocal. He's instantly playing on that theme of duality, the two voices.
Yeah.
Really interesting to me. I think it's so cool. And like 3 minutes into that song, when the beat drops out and he starts singing normally, and you go, oh,
it's melts you, doesn't it?
You wait for it, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
it's really beautiful. I think, to go off topic, another album that does that really well.
Don't worry.
Play with Expectations. This is happening by LCD Sound System with Dance Yourself Clean. It gives you the 3 minutes of more reserved music before you get what you actually came for. And I hate this idea that someone can switch on an album and instantly say, oh, that's it. There you go. I've got it. I can switch off now. I love the idea of like making someone wait.
Yeah.
I love that you have to, not any way dissing Nike as a song, but those first few minutes where you're just waiting for the payoff, you're going, oh, on your first listen at least, going, what is this? To me, just makes it so much more interesting.
Yeah, it's a really sort of dreamy, trippy start of an album, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think I was reading, I've done quite a bit of research on this album. A lot of it wasn't needed, but a lot of it was as well. Apparently, the use of auto-tune is two different characters throughout the album.
Yeah.
It's like the younger version of himself and the auto-tune, and then sort of adult, current Frank.
Yeah. It's so cool.
I mean, it's fucking
It's
bold,
so thought out. But the thing that I think makes it so good, and something that I always try and take on board in my writing process, is that you don't need to know that for it to be good. Like, he doesn't need to give you a thesis on why his album is clever for it to still work.
Yeah.
And that's,
you can take it at base level and still get something from it, right?
Exactly. You can listen to it and just go, what a great pop record.
What a lovely
or
voice he's got.
You can think about it forever, and you can deep dive.
Yeah.
All these little things that happen that are really interesting across the record. Or you know, it's the exact same thing like Expectations. As you said, there's all these incredible features across the record. He hardly mentions them.
No.
Most of them take an absolute backseat.
Well, Beyonce couldn't take a bigger backseat, really. You would not know it's
3 lines of backing vocals, yeah. And also, talking about features and credits, the insane list of credits featured on the album, where he credits people who just inspired him, credits people who he interpolates, who just gave him ideas. Like, famously, like the Beatles are credited for one melody on White Ferrari, which is insane.
Everywhere thing, isn't it? Yeah,
it's so cool, yeah. I think like little details like that. I think another big thing that I love in music is like referencing, and I love the little.
You're pretty good at.
Thank you.
You're not afraid to throw a reference.
Just the little details, like that one Beatles melodic interpolation. It's just insane because it's you know, you can blink and miss it, and it's not like he's taken. He's not taken from like A Day in the Life. He's not taken from Hey Jude. He's taken from like a kind of like fan favorite Beatles song. It shows just how much music he loves and absorbs. In his creative process. Yeah.
What do you think separates Frank from his contemporaries?
I think it's the complete lack of boundaries that I was describing before. I think there are a lot of great like kind of like artists in that sphere who I also enjoy, but you can listen to their albums and you can be like, oh, this is a project. Like, to take for example, like, I guess very close, like the last few Tyler the Creator albums, I think they're great records. They're great records. But I think you listen to a Tyler the Creator record and you go, this is a great album. You listen to Blonde and you say, this is like it's something else. It's so special. It kind of surpasses what an album can encompass. And I think it's very hard to do that, and there's very few pieces of art that manage to do it successfully. So I think when it lands, it's incredible.
Yeah. And obviously, got to mention the artwork here. You talk about the album as a whole product. Yeah. I mean, how important is the artwork to you?
It's an incredible shot. It's an incredible piece of typography, to be really nerdy. The whole branding of the album is great. And I think his branding in general, he worked with a lot of great artists on Blonde and kind of passed that into that little run of singles he did. Because I know he was working with Braulio Armado on some of them covers. That's, if I'm not mistaken, Wolfgang Tillmans.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
Even
both done our research, haven't we?
Yeah. Even the font itself is interesting because I kind of don't believe it, but some people say that it's a modified Futura. If it is a modified Futura, it's heavily modified. But obviously, he does mention Futura on the last song of the album, so it's interesting if he's gone to that extent.
It's no accident.
It's no accident. No
accident. Should also mention that we alluded to the whole E with or without. Yeah. So do you know what one of the theories behind it is?
Go ahead.
So in French, blonde with an E or without is
masculine and feminine. Yeah.
So it's playing with the duality of that, and the
gender
roles.
It's so cool.
He's just every square inch of this is covered, isn't it?
It doesn't feel like it's been calculated to be clever. It feels like he's just gone, oh, of course we do 2 names because it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's when these things come from. It never comes from like what's gonna make people think I'm a good artist. Like I don't think there's any sense of I don't think he was trying to be clever. It's just right. It just works. It's spot on.
So as a man like yourself, touring musician, back of the van quite a lot, airplanes, trains, automobiles, a lot of opportunities to listen to albums, or dare I say it, a podcast.
Yeah.
None of those feel appropriate places to listen to this album, Sean.
No.
You tell me, what's the best place to listen to this record?
It's 3 beers, bus home, sad.
Oh, yes.
It's the only time really to listen to this record.
Paint a picture. Tell me more.
I've painted it exact. 3 beers. It's
what time of year are we talking?
I think it can be any time of year.
You got all 4 seasons?
It's all 4 seasons. It doesn't. I don't think it lends itself particularly better to summer or winter.
Sure, yeah.
It does lend itself though to a heavy sense of melancholy and nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. I think.
Do you think you have to have your heart broken to get the most out of this album?
No, I just think you have to have a sense of empathy and just kind of vibe with what he's saying.
Sure.
And just lock into it. Yeah.
Love that. Have you seen him live before?
I've not.
No.
He's rare.
Nor I.
He's rare.
Now, I don't mind that I've not seen him live because I can tell you now, I was proven right at Coachella, right? It doesn't work at a festival.
See, the Coachella set he did, I thought it looked pretty great.
It looked good.
I'm a rare defender of that. I thought the live version of White Ferrari, insane.
Right.
Even though it's been scrubbed off the internet, I think the kind of the DJ interludes, I think the kind of like him karaoke in his song, I think it's sick. I think I don't know if it was a Coachella before that or like when he performed before, there were like Alex G in his live band, and they kind of have that like that center setup.
It looks amazing.
With the big speakers. The old one before he had the massive screen, just insane. That might have been like Coachella 2016. I can't remember.
Is this the thing? I was actually at one of those. With his early sets at Coachella. I didn't know he was at the time. So
really?
I missed the boat there.
Insane.
But I was at Primavera when he was supposed to play there, and he cancelled a couple of days before, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't mind it because my theory is if you're at a festival, you're drinking all day, you're dancing all day, you're with your mates, you're screaming and shouting, you're in and out of dance tents, whatever. Even he played Lovebox, didn't he?
Yeah.
The Lovebox one in London happened, or All Point Six, whatever it was, and exactly what I thought would happens. Everyone's drinking on drugs all day or whatever. It gets to 10 p.m. and suddenly everyone's supposed to be quiet and respectful.
Yeah.
It's not the way human beings work. This doesn't work at a festival.
Yeah, I agree. I get that, but also I think he has enough songs that aren't miserable. They're just a vibe. I think there's a lot of songs he could break out. I think no matter how many beers the majority of London are consumed by like 10 p.m.
Sure.
I think a crowd sing-along of something like Chanel could lull.
But you've got to work for it, I think. You've got to wait for a bit to get to those big choruses, I think. Because I'm thinking there's one particular moment I was thinking of on the album, a song called Pretty Sweet.
Yeah, when it gets to the end.
It's got a really, I hate this word, but I think it is accurate at this point. A very sort of chaotic Lynchian intro.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's quite Lynchian, but I thought it was very courting. I heard a lot of the intro of your latest album. I heard a lot of that. Because when you suggested this album, I was like, I'm not sure if there's much courting in this. And quite quickly I realised
how much
obviously the obvious thing is the auto-tune.
Yeah.
There's a big comparison there. And it's the slightly sort of the step away from choruses, I guess, really. The more obvious choruses and having those weird intros, which you're so good at on the last 2 albums you've done. There's a lot of Frank in that as well, I think.
Yeah, like I think there's some of that in like the idea of like a recurring motif.
Yes.
I guess it's also just treating an album not like it's like just a simple record and more just like a piece of art. I think it's something he does very well because he has the recurring little key part that flutters in and out throughout the record, which is really cool. He's got like lyrics that pass across, little tags that pass across. There's that one bit where he just goes woo, but in like every song, and it's just in a different key. For some reason it's always out of key. That's sick, you know.
There's an authenticity to that, isn't there? There's a man showing emotion.
I'm not gonna question why he does it. It's the same one. It's sick. It's cool. It really does for me. It comes the influence comes to me in the idea of just doing whatever you want. That's what I take from this album. That's what I really respect about it. I love how he writes lyrics. I think he's an incredible lyricist. And talking about the duality, I think he also incorporates a certain level of that like switching between a lowbrow kind of humor and then a really deep kind of like undiscussable like sorrow, which is kind of mad. There's at least 2 lyrics across the album. I'm going to use this chance to share a professional theory about the duality of the record.
I'm listening.
Now, while we're talking about, like, his younger self, his older self, whatever. In the first song on Nikes, he says, "My balls sticking to my jeans." In the last song, he says, "I'ma stick around. I'm going to let my nuts hang." Even in his ball-related metaphors, he has come from an intro of a stressful state, his balls sticking to his jeans, to a sense of freedom at the end of the album. He's letting his balls hang. Now, even in his most lowbrow ball-related lyrics, that's duality. That's the bookends of the album. I think it's on purpose.
It's a testicle bookended album.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is why this conversation is so important, Sean.
I think I'm the only person who's ever thought that.
I like it.
Thank you.
That's going on Wikipedia straight away, mate.
But the thing is, and I'm kind of joking, but also I kind of think
but no, you're not wrong.
It's like a very like silly lyric in both parts that he just randomly throws in, and it's like it is a pretty great metaphor. It's a pretty great metaphor. When you give him an hour to let it set in, I think it's pretty fantastic.
So you're saying it takes an hour to let the testicles...
He's took us on a journey.
Yeah.
His balls were sticking to his jeans.
And now they're bloody not.
And now they're not, man.
So, testicles aside, I'm going to ask a big question. What's the best bit of the album, Sean?
It's the run from the end of Godspeed to the end of Futura Free, which is my favourite song on the album. When he just kind of starts freestyling over an unknowable Gang of Four sample. A Gang of Four feedback sample, yeah. No one ever would. I understand why, because it's impossible to clock without Googling. I don't think anyone will clock that. It's just like looped and deconstructed. It's incredible. The which heaven would have me be, insane. And then when he just brings it down, so it's just the piano after all that, and then the beat comes back in, it's insane. With the little reverse hi-hats, with the little bell, it's one.
So I don't think I'd actually finished that song before. Is that sample at the end? There's like about a 20-second gap of silence, isn't there?
And there's the interview, which comes.
Which I'd never caught before. I don't think I must have listened to that before. It's the end of the album, sort of thing. I put something else on. Yeah, I missed it until just this week. The
bit that does me, it's just the little second part before the interview. It's when he takes the piano down and then he brings the drums back in. It's so good. I think it might be one of the best closing tracks just off the bat ever written.
And how often do you come back to this album?
Less than I'd like to say, considering how much I'm talking about. I think it's an album that just
you've got to be in the right frame of mind.
You've got to be in the right frame of mind.
Yeah, like I say, not back at the tour bus, is it?
No, and I wouldn't just randomly throw this song on.
Yeah,
because you kind of need a moment. You need to let it be the main thing that you're thinking about. It's never background music. No,
yeah.
And I think as well the series of singles that he did after this album,
Chanel,
insane. Yeah. Biking, Chanel, DHL, In My Room, Provider, Lens. That's like a 7-song run of like insane tunes. There's the tune with Skepta and Arca that's on YouTube. Little Demon, insane. There's like one recording of it. He was gonna release it on a 7-inch. He never did.
Oh right,
it's great.
So this is the thing actually. This is the big difference between you and Frank Ocean here. Is how quickly you work and get stuff out.
Yeah.
And how he does the opposite.
But granted, his last album was an hour. Well, my last one was 25 minutes.
The numbers don't lie there, actually. You're onto something there.
I think if you want to make something, if you want to make a long album, in my opinion, if you want to make an album over 40 minutes, I think it's going to take a few years. Because I think it's hard to write that many good songs, because the amount of bands...
cohesive, God.
Yeah, the amount of bands I listen to will have an hour-long album, and half is just shit.
Of course.
Whereas, writing an album like this, I think it takes time. I think, why are we in a rush? That's my fault. Like, I think he's got 2 great albums. If his next one's great, cool. If his next one's not as good as this, who cares? Like, it's just music. I kind of want to resist that urge to think this is good, I need more of it, rather than this is good and I enjoy it. Like, I think I'm happy to sit with this. I've only enjoyed it more the more I've listened. I've never thought, God, I could do with another blonde. I'm happy he's made that piece. It's fine. And them singles, that's still like half an hour of music. Like,
Yeah, put them on a playlist. You got an EP there,
yeah,
haven't you?
you've got more, maybe more.
Yeah.
It's insane. Chanel, I think, might be one of the not just the best pop songs I've heard in like the last like 20 years, but it also features like the best refrain and coda, maybe in pop music of all time. The little outro, just insane. It's impossible for people not to sing along to that. It's insane.
Class.
It's insane.
What's your 60-second elevator pitch for this album? Some geezer in the pub goes, Frank Ocean, shite. In fact, great example for you. My little brother thinks he's shit.
Damn.
When we was going to see him at Primavera, everyone's saying, Jack, you've got to get into this. It's so good. The album is unbelievable. He wasn't having it.
Yeah.
So Jack Han, if he's listening, what's your 60-second elevator pitch to change his mind?
I think my honest pitch would be fair play. I think if someone doesn't like them, I don't think there's anything you can do to make someone like this record. I think it's got to come from a level of whoever doesn't like it needs to get a little bit more sad,
He needs
get
some more
a
trauma.
little tipsy, and just let it do its thing. I think because I think I've had a lot of friends who really love Channel Orange, but God, I don't get it, and it's like, oh, you will one day, you'll get it, or you won't. It's fine. It's if you get it, you get it. That's fine. I think like there are albums that are made to have universal appeal. There are albums that everyone's meant to like. I think there's albums that take a bit of time. You have to let them sit with. You have to work on them. I think the fact that this album has any universal appeal is kind of crazy. Like when you start thinking about like, imagine if a famous rock band did an album like this, you'd be shunned because he gets to experiment so heavily and be so interested in the sphere of pop music, whereas a lot of rock bands play it so safe. If they ever did this, it'd just be called shit. But he's had the chance to do it. He's ran with it. He's made something insane, and he's stuck the landing because everyone loves it. Everyone loves Blonde.
Class.
Everyone loves it.
They love it.
They
Apart
love
from Jack Han.
Yeah. What a record, man.
What do you make of the skits on this album?
I think they're nice. The
love 'em.
Facebook one,
I think it's class.
Yeah.
Everyone hates the Facebook
I'm okay
one.
with the Facebook
I really
one.
like it.
I'm fine with the Facebook one.
I think what helps, I'm a big Sebastian fan.
Yeah?
Yeah, big time. So like, I thought it was him, even before I sort of knew that it was. I was like, I think that's Sebastian.
Interesting. I've only just recently started listening to Sebastian,
Oh,
and
man.
and he's the one reading the sample.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Honestly,
Reading
that first album of his is
He's winning. What's his first
wild.
one? I've been listening to the one with the
Embody.
two people
Yeah, exactly.
kissing.
Two of him.
Yeah,
two of him,
interesting.
Yeah. Honestly, that
Did he do
album,
any production on Blonde, or is he?
Yeah.
What songs?
I couldn't tell it off my head,
Crazy.
but he's done the production of some of the songs. Yeah.
Interesting. Who is like Sebastian like a part of? What's
Ed Banger.
Ed Banger, yeah.
For Justice and Busy P, all that crowd.
Crazy.
But he's worlds apart. He's really
Interesting.
good.
Yeah,
His
thank
second
you.
album's not quite as good, but that first one is class.
Yeah,
Big drums.
I've been listening to that lately. That's
Yeah.
very interesting. I didn't know that. Thank
There
you.
you go. Glad to do a bit of work
Thank
for
you.
you. Well, look, this has been class.
Thank you.
I want to thank you very much for your time, but you're not getting off scot-free. We have got a little sort of quiz for us.
A little quiz.
Yeah.
Go on.
Now, I'm very aware there are some visual cues on laptop number 2, so I'd rather you didn't look at laptop number 2, Sean. I haven't quite thought this through.
Okay, I will look.
But let's
I'm
have
good.
a go, shall we?
I'm good.
This is a quiz called Who the Frank Is That?
Okay.
I'm going to give you a few
Different
clues,
Franks.
and you need to tell me
Okay.
which Frank we're talking about. This Frank,
Yeah.
winter, spring, summer, or autumn, much like your listening pleasure, The Blonde, actually. Winter, spring, summer, or autumn, brackets 4. This singer has sung through all 4
Oh, it's Frankie
seasons.
Valli.
Fucking hell, this guy's good.
Easy. Come on.
This guy knows his Franks.
Come on. Oh, what a night.
Oh, what
Let's
a night.
let's move on.
Oh, what a night.
That might also be one of the best pop songs of all time.
You having that?
Yeah, I
There
am.
you go.
What a tune. And he was in The Sopranos.
He's in The Sopranos.
He's in the last season of The Sopranos.
I've underestimated Mr. Valli and your
Frankie
connection
Valli
to
is
him.
in season 6 of The Sopranos, man.
We are learning a lot from each other today. This is
That's
really
good.
valuable.
Come on.
Sean.
What's
Thank
next?
you.
Next, Frank.
Next one. If you've looked at the screen, you might know who it is.
I can, yeah. Cause,
Shall I do the thing anyway?
yeah, go on.
Come on.
Yeah.
This fictional Frank is a successful businessman with enterprises all over the world in places including Vietnam and Japan. Despite his success, he lives a humble life, shares a bed with his best friend. He has vices and will regularly take drugs, drink excessively, and make use of sex workers. Before you answer, let's go to the back of the room for a bit of jeopardy, seeing as you know the answer already, Sean. Sean?
It's Frank Reynolds.
It's Frank
From Always Sunny in
Reynolds.
Philadelphia, yeah. Come on. What's next? Owner
This
of-
Frank
yeah.
took an embarrassing fall just last month and filed for bankruptcy. He's overcome a lot of hurdles in his time, but I'm sure it'll be nay bother He rides horses.
Rides horses. I don't know shit about horse riding, man.
Yeah, I don't know much
You're
more,
gonna
mate,
have
but
to-
it's Frankie Dettori.
Okay.
You was doing well. You're doing well so far.
Okay.
This Frank can change his vibe at the drop of a hat. The Latin-speaking Frank is the poshest little footballer of them all. This Frank is considered both super, fat, and rubbish at managing football teams.
Oh. See, this sucks because I know nothing about any sports.
Brother, you're in the same room.
Come on, tell me.
It's Frank Lampard.
That's what I was going to say.
It's the only
That's what I
Frank,
was
isn't it,
gonna
really?
say.
Yeah. One last Frank for you. Another fictional Frank.
Yeah.
This fictional Frank has problems with a colleague. This Frank was driven to insanity in the workplace. And this Frank doesn't need safety gloves because he's Homer Simpson. Which Frank is it?
What's his surname? It's Homer Simpson's enemy, isn't it?
It is. It's Frank Grimes
Frank
from
Grimes,
Much
of course.
Beloved
And
Simpsons.
in later seasons, his son.
Exactly that. You can't.
Yeah.
This guy knows his Simpsons, doesn't know
Yeah,
his
we do,
sport.
yeah. It's annoying because that was a horse racing question. I have a song about horse racing.
I was going to
And
say,
a
but you
football
got a song
question,
called Football
and
as
I
well.
don't know shit. Yeah, no.
I was buzzing for you guys when you got the Liverpool advert.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
How'd that come about?
I guess they just love local talent.
They
There's a
love
lot of
local
Scouse
talent.
bands that are featured on Liverpool kit adverts.
Oh,
It's
really?
great, yeah.
Did they quiz you about your football knowledge or loyalties before?
They did say that we couldn't you can't repost and be like, I fucking love Everton.
Right.
Which is a pretty, don't be another,
Pretty good
which is
policy.
pretty fair.
Yeah, both on Instagram and
But
off.
we're all Reds, so who's asked?
Perfect.
It's fine.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Not done yet. A few more little bits for you.
Well, thanks.
Next franking line, please. Question 1. You need to finish the line.
Okay.
I thought that I was dreaming.
Oh my god, it's mine's drawn a blank. It's
Come on.
I was dreaming. Is it just when you said you love me? Is that it?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
This is
Okay. Yeah,
Hard. You're
there's a
gonna-
little bit of squirm there.
you're gonna-
Okay.
you're
Now we
gonna
got
put me-
now we got some
You're gonna
jeopardy.
put me
Now
to
we
it,
got
you're
some
gonna put me
jeopardy.
to
Acid on me like the rain.
Weed crumble in the glitter.
Fucking love it. Good
Rain,
job.
glitter, yeah.
Yarrow is paying you, and I'm in great shape.
That's me.
At least you realise it was you. Quick.
Yeah,
I'm far better than Russell from Block Party on this round. Let me
Yeah,
tell you.
and I somehow don't know. I know the song. I
course you know
can't.
the song.
Oh, it's tough.
Pretty sure you wrote it.
Oh yeah, pass.
You gonna pass? Yeah, fine. The grass is always greener in the country.
That's
house.
me
It's a song
too.
called
It's tennis. Yes. Oh, the doy.
yes. I've been dreaming of this since I was 14.
That's me as well.
Yes,
That's,
it is.
That's on We Look Good Together by
Correct.
Courting.
By Courting.
Oh, what a tune.
And what is the rest of the line?
Where do we start again? Sorry.
I've been dreaming of this since I was 14.
All my friends are getting bitter.
Thank you very
We've been-
much
yeah,
for playing
so-
along.
so-
Got
so-
one last
So
one.
go on.
I'm making money by selling your bathwater.
Yeah, why can't we tag along?
Pop shop by Courting.
Thank you. That's a Belle
Lovely
Delphine joke.
stuff. It's what, sorry?
It's a Belle Delphine joke.
Honestly, the cultural references.
The
just
girl
keep
who
on
was selling
coming
a
forward.
bathwater.
I know who Belle
Oh,
Delphine is.
sorry, my
No,
bad.
don't
My
you worry
bad.
about it.
Oh, my bad. Did you buy some?
Well, on that note, it's been lovely having you here, Sean.
Thank you.
Anything we need to plug? Tour's over for now, I guess.
Listen to the
Unless
album,
you're in
please.
America.
If
of
you're in
course.
America, yeah. Listen to the album, please.
Which
Thank
one? We
you.
got 3 of them to go through here.
In order.
Well, in fact, we got 4.
In
We've got
order.
3 Courting albums. We've got a Frank Ocean
Blonde.
album.
Yeah.
And after that, you can do what you want to do. You can just enjoy yourself, listen to the singles
Yeah, man.
as a collective playlist.
Or just do what you want.
And
Free
then
will.
smoke some weed, watch it crumble like glitter, I guess.
man.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
This has been class. I have been William Hand. He has been Sean from Courting.
Thank you.
He's been Frank Ocean. And this has been This Album.